Okay, this is Mike Merlin Means of Merlin Public Media, and tonight we're recording episode 2 of Talking Shit with Merlin. Me being Merlin, and I'm talking shit with.
Hey, I'm Sean Chandler, and I am a podcast host and writer, and I live in New York City.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
New York is bitchin', Mike. It's so cool. It's just so much fun to, like, when I walk out of my apartment and I look around, I don't get the same feeling when I was living in Woodland Hills in the San Fernando Valley. No shade, no shade. Literally, that's a double meaning to Woodland Hills, but it's just so different. I've been here for 7 years, and I still, every time I go out, can't believe I live here. Plus, I love theater. I'm a writer, so
for the sake of the theater, I understand it, but I don't like big cities other than to go into and get out of.
How come?
Too many people, too many minds, too much. I find it overwhelming. I've been in one major city that I was utterly comfortable in my entire life, and that was San Diego.
San Diego is really nice, and it's got a very chill vibe.
It does. It really does. And I like that, but, I'm 104, 106 miles outside of Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So anything I need in the big city scene is, an hour or so away. And I've got nothing here. I mean, I think we've got 32,000 people in my city.
Well, you've got Laughlin. If you ever want to go be in a bit of a big city / casino area, there's always Laughlin. I always had fun in Laughlin when I would go.
A lot of people really like Laughlin. I worked there for a number of years, and back when I was still doing food service, and before I racked my feet, the first part of my body I destroyed. And okay, let's do this because, I guess I'm going to have to say it out loud one of these here days. The casino restaurant industry was such a disappointment to me.
Do tell.
One small example, my first Thanksgiving, I'm basically running the crew in the 24-hour cafe. I'm running graveyard. And before he leaves, the exec comes down and he says, we got a bunch of turkeys to roast before tomorrow. And, they've already been taken down to the fridges and in like 4 or 5 different rooms, which is what they call the restaurants. It's a room from the back of house. And I need you to handle this. I'm like, okay. So I spent my shift going from the bakery oven to, the seafood house oven to the barbecue oven and, checking in temps on pouring off stock and putting the turkeys out to cool. And, at the end of the night, I've got probably 30 or more 5-gallon buckets of turkey white meat stock.
Mm-hmm.
And the exec comes in the morning and says, what's that? And I'm like, that's the drippings off the turkey. What do you think I'm going to do with that? I don't know, make gravy. And he walks me on the corner to pallets of turkey gravy in cans and says, in order to make that into gravy, I would have to teach somebody in the main kitchen how to make gravy from scratch. Almost nothing in the kitchens there were from scratch. And, I'm going into a casino kitchen going, my ass is going to learn. Nope. Everything was, this is how you do it. Step 1, step 2, step 3, repeat. So, yeah, I didn't like it.
I'm not surprised. I was in food service for, since I was 15 years old. My high school job was like bussing tables and washing dishes at a coffee shop in a JCPenney's. That's how long ago it was.
Wow.
When JCPenney's was around and JCPenney's actually had coffee shops in them. And then I had a brief break. And then at 21, I went to bartender school, bartending. and then back into food service. And by the time I left, I was a food service manager at Sony Picture Studios in Culver City.
Ah, okay.
Oh my God, that industry will suck the effing life out of you. I couldn't do it now. There's no way I could do it now.
I've been out for, well, when my feet went bad, so probably, I don't know, 15, 16 years. My last gig was on a wood-fired broiler in the middle of the dining room.
Yuck.
Oh no, man, I loved it.
Did you?
I did. Aside from the fact that my pocket thermometer said 138 degrees the entire shift every day, I could, for the first time, see the people I was feeding.
Oh wow, what's interesting?
And see that they were happy, and to know I was responsible for a lot of it.
You know, that's kind of what you need, really, to survive. You need to be physically able to be on your feet and do the job all day long. And if you're in management, it's like it's awful. It's like you're working 18-hour days, 6 days a week. Maybe you'll have a day off, maybe not. Maybe, yeah. And also, you have to have the passion for serving and cooking. And I've seen so many people have that, and it's cool when you see it. I mean, a lot of times it's in chefs, like yes, career chefs, things like that. They're the ones who really love it. And I remember just thinking, I don't care whether or not somebody's hamburger is not cooked to the proper temperature anymore. Not that I was a dick about it, but I don't give a shit about that anymore. And I don't have it in me to try to keep my job by biting my tongue and swallowing the blood. So yeah, I get it, man. Ugh.
That last gig, wood-fired broiler and steaks, and mostly steaks, a little bit of chicken, some salmon. But and pleasing the customer and that whole thing. They tracked me at one point in time for several weeks, and my accuracy on my steaks was literally 99.97.
My God, I can't even believe they do that. That's a thing?
Casinos.
How do they measure that? Is it how many
customer
steaks?
Input?
Oh, customer input is like how many steaks come back, things like that.
Right. And then feedback to management and whatever. But and I forget where I was going with this, but out there and watching the people. But I taught my servers this trick. Okay, your steak isn't cooked right, and we make it real simple. Okay, sir or ma'am, when you cut your steak in half, what does it look like?
Me? Are you asking me?
No, not that's saying. I'm saying, I ordered a rare steak. Why is it bloody?
Because it's rare.
Yeah, well, and people didn't know what they were asking for.
Oh, I see.
So I asked the servers to say, when your steak is cut in half, what does it look like? And then come back and tell me, yeah, they ordered rare. They want a medium well. So you go. But
so it's it's training, like the staff and the guests too, right?
Yeah.
How frustrating.
It was that, and it was just amazing to, and I'd been doing it for a long time, and I considered management a couple of times and said no, because at that point in time, you go from a little bit of life to none.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. Yes. Sucks.
And then they asked me to move up into a sous chef position at the casino, which is basically a kitchen manager. Okay. There's not very many people in there with papers. And, you're on call 24/7, 365. Yeah, you're making more money per week as a rule, but you aren't guaranteed a moment of sleep or anything. And I said no. And they're like,
great.
What? I'm like, I'm making better money per hour now.
Man, I hear you. I absolutely hear you. And then you sort of like break it down by hour, and factor in you're working probably 2 or 3 more hours a day as a manager, or administrative or whatever, and then start taking a look at how much you're actually making and doing the division. It's like, yeah, I'm making like $11 an hour working my ass off and killing myself over here.
Right. Yeah.
So, and if you're young and you wanna make it a career, okay,
Sure.
pay your dues, whatever. But for old guys like us, no, I'm sorry, I don't know about you. I never mind. Nope,
No, I'm
can't
done.
do it.
I am
Yeah,
done with
save
that.
it.
It's just no. There are actually times I kind of miss that, looking out across the dining room and seeing all the happy people, but they're getting less and less.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and I think, I mean, I've talked to some people that are still in the business, and I know that they kind of tightened up on management, at least in California. Like they started, like the job that I had after I quit, everybody stayed there. They changed how they paid managers. Like they started paying managers overtime. Like when I was at Sony, I would run one of the commissary units every day from like, I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then like during the holidays and stuff, we would immediately go over to another part of the lot, because this all happened on the old MGM lot, which is now the Sony Picture Studios lot, which is what they reference in the beginning of Jeopardy, if you watch Jeopardy. Mm-hmm. But it's we would go and I would work another like 10 to 12 hours, like on a special event or something like that. And right after I left, they're like, yeah, no, we don't do that anymore. If a manager has to work 18 hours, they're getting paid overtime. So I'm like, wow.
Gee, thank you. Yeah.
Right. Who got busted for that?
I don't know, but somebody of power rained on their parade for them even to consider doing that.
Oh yeah. 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 That's something you'd fight tooth and nail, or that, or, they, at one point when I first started working, they had a contract with a certain group that I worked with, because it was a third party sort of contractor that went in and managed the food service for Sony Studios. And when I went in there, they were subsidized, so they could lose money and Sony would write a check and it would be fine. About 3 months into it, they were trying to keep the contract, and they agreed to a bunch of terms that completely flipped that. So it was just, and it was pretty much to save the account so they didn't lose the account. And sometimes like in situations like that, it's like a vanity account. You know what I mean?
Yes. Mm-hmm. We have this. Oh man, look at us. We must be good because yeah.
And we kept it.
Oh geez.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's like, you didn't lose this. You actually kept the account, so they must be happy with you. So, oh, good. Now you can come over to our the Countrywide company, which was bought out by Bank of America. That's how long ago it was. Those are my references. Remember the Great Recession? That was then.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. It's no fun. But what we were talking about, I was just going to remind you, because you were like, what are we talking about? And
okay, do it.
Okay, it was big cities.
Oh yeah.
Reason why you don't like big cities, and you like when we got into Laughlin.
Wow, man. Tangent. That's why I like the concept of this show. It just can go anywhere.
On and on. I love it. So
yeah. I don't like being around all those people. I mean, it's like I can feel them. It's like I'm suffocated by them.
I hear you, and sometimes I can get a little claustrophobic with a lot of the people, but I like it. I think it's fun, and there's a certain energy to it that I really dig on, and it's just lively, and it's interesting, and I'm hearing all different kinds of languages and accents around me all the time, and it's to me, there's nothing like, I don't know, talk to me in maybe 2 or 3 years when I'm fed up with it. I don't know, but I've always been in love with New York, and it's people are like, oh, well, there's Chicago, and it's nice and it's pristine, and I lived there for 3 months when we did Out the Flash there back in the day, but There's just nothing like it. And it's also like New York is like really super different right now from where it was a couple of years ago, like most places because of the pandemic. But
Mm-hmm.
the pandemic just it shut New York down to where it was like just empty streets. It was very, very, very bizarre. But before the pandemic, it was New York was like really pristine and the city services were on it. And then after the pandemic, like it's starting to look a little bit more like 70s, early 80s New York. You know, and where it was before what's his name? It was before Giuliani came in or Coke or whatever, Ed Coke or whatever his name was. Anyways, it was before those guys came over and Disneyfied the place. It's starting to go back to that now a little bit. It's very strange. There's a lot of homelessness and yeah, it's not that New York from before. It's a little bit more like it was when I was first here in 1982 and stayed on 8th Avenue across from all the porn houses at 17 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Boy, it's piquing the imagination. So, anyways, I do love it, and you know, and I love San Diego too. My sister lived in La Jolla. It was not La Jolla. Chula Vista, like way down there, like at the border of San Diego, and so I'd go to San Diego quite a bit and stay there. It is a really nice city, and it is mellow, but it's got like pockets, which is nice. You know, it's got the big park and the museums and then downtown, and there's like the Hillcrest area, and I've gotten lost in San Diego so many fucking times, Mike. It's insane. It's bad. I mean, one time when my sister had my nephew, I drove from Woodland Hills once again down to San Diego, and I'm not shitting you. I got there in the morning and there's my sister at the hospital. She didn't have that child until like 11:30 at night. In between that, I was going back and forth to my hotel. My final trip, I actually got lost going from the hospital to the hotel, a drive I had taken 4 times that day. So I get lost really easily. And one time was in San Diego, and it's right after my nephew was born. I'm a mess. I'm really bad with directions.
I am so grateful for the GPS in my phone, even here.
Oh yeah, isn't it nice?
Yeah,
it's great. I mean, this was before GPS. This was my nephew's 17 now. So, but I remember the minute that he could. I don't know if you remember the company, the Garmin GPS that you could put in your car.
Yeah,
it was like the young baby model of that.
Very beginning.
Oh yeah, and so the minute that those came out, David's like, "I'm getting you one of those. You get lost going to places you've been to 400 times in your life." So I did finally. I got one, and I'd still get lost. I really would.
Have you ever been in downtown Pittsburgh?
No, I think I've been close. Is Hershey, Pennsylvania close?
Oh no, other side of the state, man.
Okay, yeah, then no.
Yeah,
I've only gone
almost on the west end of Pennsylvania.
Right. This far, I've only gone to Hershey, and that's as far as I've gone.
It's built at the where, excuse me, 2 rivers become one. The Monongahela, I remember because it's got such a cool name. And I don't remember the other one, but they become the Ohio River.
Oh, okay.
Which is a major river. And in that point where those 2 rivers converge is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And the city is a triangle. Okay. And the roads are triangles. And at standard business quitting time, many one-way roads flip to the other way. And if you don't know where you're at, you are screwed.
Is it one of those situations where you're just going to drive for another 30 miles before you can turn around?
Well, it can be, but, long story short, it's going to be a little bit of a longer story. The last time I was in Pittsburgh, we went to see a concert, and it was Kansas and Mahogany Rush.
Oh my God.
which is a weird billing to start with. But we met a friend of mine. Two of us drove down, met a friend of mine that lived down there, and we went to the show. And then, we dropped him off and we left, and we're heading out of town, and we don't know where we're supposed to turn or go or nothing. Nothing. CB days. It was back in the CB days. So
like big rig trucker CBs.
Well, cars. People had CBs in their cars.
But I'm on the right track though, right?
Yeah, CB radios like truckers use. Okay, so we fired up and we're like, "Hey, man, we're from out of town and we're lost. And where are you at? Where are you going? Okay, just left the concert. Oh, wow, we're the tech crew. I got a hold of the production crew for DeCesar Engler Productions that did the lighting and sound for the concert. Those are the guys I was talking to. So they got us out of town, and they're like, and we're talking about the show, and I pointed out a couple of mistakes that they made, and they're like, "What? You could see that?" And I'm like, "I think it was kind of obvious." And they're like, "What are you doing Monday? You need to get your butt down here and put in for an apprenticeship, as you've got the job."
So you worked in Pittsburgh for a certain period of time, or is it traveling?
No, I got home and I thought about it, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, I need to finish my degree first. I never went back. Oh, and yeah, I didn't finish the degree either. And, that's one of the only regrets in my history.
You didn't go back
I didn't go back.
For the apprenticeship, right?
Yeah, well, I'd have been a full-on production person within 4 years.
Oh, wow.
I'd have been doing massive, major events and all kinds of stuff, but, I didn't.
Well, that's what you went into anyways, right?
I did, but on a massively smaller scale.
Right.
On the scale of the gear that I can afford.
Gotcha. Wow. I have to say, I worked in special events a lot, but it was mostly like providing the food service for it. So when I go into like a big stadium or something and I see, I don't know, it's set up for a basketball game, and I know that like 3 nights later, I don't know, Janet Jackson's having a concert in there. I think, how in the holy hell does that happen? I just can't wrap my mind around that process. It's too much. It really is. I mean, I just want to be like, blink like Genie and then hope it happens. But
yeah,
it's crazy.
There's so much involved. The last time I did numbers, my favorite touring band right now at all is Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Oh, I love them.
And the last time I checked in, they were touring with 28 semis of tech. 28 semis of tech.
Wow.
And, you've got, the production crew has, if they're really lucky, 12 hours to put it together.
See?
And these guys, I mean, there's videos out there of, putting up a show. There's a couple famous ones of a really heavy metal band called Rammstein from Germany. There's show-changing videos at the Metropolitan Opera.
Wow.
It's a ballet of a different sort. It really is.
I can just imagine. I mean, I know that there's like the whole entire stage and backstage area of the Met, the room with all the chandeliers. I saw something on it, like a documentary, and it's like that backstage area is like twice as big as the entire theater. It's just huge. I mean, it's a big ass theater anyways. And I've seen him drop a gigantic, huge anvil prop all the way from the ceiling all the way down to the ground in the Barber of Seville, which, by the way, no barbers. The Barber of Seville. I was like, where are the barbers? I don't see a barber.
Well, there was a barber in the Bugs Bunny version.
I At the end of the night, I wished I had seen the Bugs Bunny version.
Bad
It was,
production, or you just didn't care for
oh,
the show itself?
no, I mean, it's interesting, but I didn't get it. I didn't understand it, and I think I've told you this before, but I challenge myself once a year to see an opera, once a year to see a ballet, and once a year to see a Shakespeare play.
Okay.
Because
Totally.
as you right, because I mean, I just have to be in a certain mindset where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to understand most of it, but I'll pick up,
Enough.
from one beat to another, like the big beats. But and that particular story, well, first of all, it's like bait and switch because I was looking for a barber and there were no barbers. And I'm like, am I in the right opera right now? They scanned my ticket. Am I good? But yeah, but I mean, David tried to explain it to me when I got home about, like, I guess barbers did a different thing back then. And they were like, I mean, this guy had a cart and he was selling stuff. And I think he shaved somebody one time, like the face of the, and that was it. I mean, geez, it was, I'm stupid. I was, I don't understand like metaphor, all that symbolism, especially
Just hand it to me, man.
in opera. No, I can't. Yeah, I went, oh, whatever. It was fun. It's a beautiful theater though.
Oh, geez, it's one of the most beautiful theaters on the planet. It really is.
Well, yeah, they've opened two theaters. I want to say there's the David Koch Theater and then the David Geffen Theater. I remember there were two. David and I went and saw an opera called Akhenaten about Tutankhamun and his whole,
Ooh, I don't
family.
know that one.
Oh, I believe it's on like PBS or something. It was really interesting. It was long, but
yeah, they are.
Aren't they?
They are all, yes.
Yeah, but yeah, and he pointed out that there was a David Geffen theater and complex, which I think is supposed to be in perpetuity, is what he told me. It's going to be like that forever. We saw the music of Danny Elfman there, and it was really, really, really cool. And then the other one, I just saw an operatic version of Notre Dame. It was the Hunchback was in it, but it was about a lot of Notre Dame stuff. So these theaters are gorgeous. They're so beautiful, these two new theaters, and they've really done a nice job, zhuzhing up the main theater where they do all the big operas and stuff. And I don't know if you know this, but there's also 3 regular sized theaters in that complex as well. There's a big theater where they do musicals and large scale plays, and there's 2 smaller, like off Broadway and an off Broadway theater over there too. It's huge.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a little bit confusing, but yeah, it's gorgeous. And seeing that, now that's back to living in New York. That I walk up to that and I see the fountains and I see the lit up steps and I see all of these beautiful buildings lit up, and I think, this isn't like, going out at night and driving to Ralph's. A little
no, it's not.
It's like, okay, this is beautiful, and it's also, anyways, back to Pittsburgh. No, I've never been there. I've seen like on what's that show called? It's called where they fly over the cities and the damn it. And anyways, there's a show where they fly over states and cities and things like that. And I saw it. It looks like very like sharp angles of steel, and it's a very sharply built city. There's not a lot of rolling and roundness to it.
Just kind of there and wedged into a triangle, and driving is hell.
Oh, I'm sure. Right. You don't want to get lost in the triangle, right?
No, man, no, not if I can help it. But yeah, that's what else is up, man?
Oh, I was going to say, just so you know, I'm afraid to go there now because I'm afraid I'll get lost unless David drives. But I was interviewing a friend of mine that he was doing what was he doing? Shoot, what is David doing? He's doing some like theatrical thing that does videos online and stuff like that. And he's from Houston. Have you ever been to Houston, or do you know its layout?
I've only been in and out of the airport.
Okay, well, it's kind of, that's sort of outside of like the heart
Everything.
of Houston,
Yeah.
which is like it has. I'm not kidding. It looks like a bullseye. It's got like 3 freeways that go inward. Like there's a big one around the circle, and then there's another one. It's another circle inside, and another circle inside.
Oh my!
It's like it looks like a bullseye called the bullseye freeway.
Geez.
And what happened if you're like me is I got on. I was training to. I was out doing out of state training for one of my horrible restaurant jobs, but I remember you'd get on the freeway and I got so lost that I seriously, dude, just drove around in one circle probably 8 times around Houston. So that's probably my stupidest Sean in traffic story.
Oh, that's that. I can see that's up there a little bit. Yeah.
It's so dumb. I know that's why David's like, I gotta get you a Garmin GPS. And
yeah,
those went way of the dodo when iPhones came out. So
sure. And now every phone's got them, and yeah.
It's thank God. Yeah. All right, cool. I printed out some stuff. I don't know if you want to talk about topics or whatever, but
throw something at me. Let's see where we end up.
Okay, cool. I am kind of like annoyed about this business about the governors of Texas and Arizona who are sending buses of immigrants to New York. Now, I don't mind that the immigrants are in here in New York and they're being taken care of by our mayor, and we have a new mayor, and his name is Eric Adams, and he's doing a really good job. And we have not a new governor. She took over after the old governor he got retired.
Yes.
he quit. And have you heard this news story?
I have heard nothing about this.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was crazy. Like, so I've printed it up, and it's like the governors of Texas, Greg Abbott, and then also Arizona. It's Ducey or Lucy or what's the governor's? Ducey, yeah. They are sending buses of immigrants here to, well, at least I know the ones that came to New York down by Penn Station, and I forget the name of the place where the buses go. But anyways, and they're being taken care of, but it's I just know that this is just the governors of those 2 states just thinking that we in New York just mouth off about how it's okay and we shouldn't be so tough on immigration. And I'm wondering, like, I think that's kind of a dick move. I really do. If you're a governor of one of those states, then you say, hey, look, I have a lot of, we could really use the help. Can I send you? Yeah. So that you can take care of, and we can't take care of them. But it's being said that they're doing it merely for the purpose of I don't want to say punishing, but I'm going to say punishing like Democratic governors and mayors and that. I think, okay, well, that's fine. We'll put your money where your mouth is. And it annoys me because it's like, you guys need to go back to history class or something. I mean, I could walk out of my apartment and do a 10-minute walk, and I'm looking at Ellis Island, where almost 12 million immigrants were processed through between 1892 and 1954 when the station was closed. It's like, that's a weird, like a contradictory, bizarre statement. I mean, don't you think? Yeah. Yeah. So that's what they're doing. And it's pretty fresh. And but yeah, I don't what's your take on that? Just, I know you're hearing it fresh, but do you have any thoughts on that? I kind of wanted to run it by you.
I think it's really just bizarre. I mean,
you think it's political? I think it's political.
Well, I don't think there's anything much out there that isn't. I mean, if it's happening in the big picture, it's politicized one way or another.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
but
these are people's lives. I mean, putting them on buses for a week to bust them out here, it's like it just seems so. I don't. It just seems like you're not human and you're not good enough for whatever this is here. And I'll tell you, man, it is. Since we're talking about cities, it is like crazy. We've put up all of our homeless in like hotels that weren't being used during the pandemic, when everybody had to go inside to, and and a lot of those have now turned into like homeless shelters. Like there's a hotel that's like a block away from us that was like the only hotel that was relatively close for people to stay in. And it pretty much turned into a homeless encampment. So we're a little bit strained, but that's fine. I mean, we're making do. And I just think it's really, really shitty. It's just playing with people's lives so you can say something juvenile, and I think it's low too. Tony, I mean, come on. Now, I know that you live in Arizona.
I do.
So does any of that get to where you are, or I mean,
like I said, brand new to me. Most things like that, I would assume, are happening out of the state capital, or a more like urban area. There's nothing urban about where I'm at.
Right. Yeah.
I can see wide open desert almost anywhere I look.
Right.
So things are not happening from here, although I had heard a rumor sometime back, a goodly number of years, that LA was doing the same thing to literally us, our city. They're busing up the homeless, and we were their destination. Now, I don't know. It's a vague memory, but maybe this is a thing.
Mm. And it's on a big scale. It's not great if you're trying to help people like that and you're trying to set them up for success. Don't send them to one of the most expensive places in the United States to live. It is not fun for people who are below the poverty line anywhere, but it's magnified here quite a bit. And so if you're thinking, oh no, let's just make up the excuse that it's that they're going to do better out there because of that. No, it's not pretty for people who are in poverty. Again, anywhere. Yeah. But out here, it's really bad. And as we get into like the winter months, I mean, it can get really, really cold. And, they have what are called, I'm going to say that's like code blue around here, where they have to go and like gather up homeless people and bring them into, like completely crowded to the gills shelters and stuff like that. So I just don't think it's really good for our for people in general. I think it sucks.
Forced relocation at any time is, borderline evil.
It is. It's inhuman, and it just. And again, I could maybe make a little, give it a little bit of grace if it's a situation where it's like we're doing everything we can. We need to send people to where they're going to be taken care of and where they can have successful lives. Not just, oh, okay, well, here you go. Put your money where your mouth is. That's just juvenile, immature politics. It's bullshit.
How long has this been going on? And is this current? I mean, is it still going on?
Well, not still, of which I'm aware. It's I want to say that this article that I printed up was on the 8th of August.
Okay.
So I know it was around that time. And these people are on buses for days, and they actually get dropped off at Port Authority. That's what I was thinking of, which is where all the buses come and go, or most of them. And they're trying to find places for these poor people, and it's just like, and they show up and they're hungry and they're tired, and it's just it's dehumanizing. I mean, come on, you know. I mean, these guys are. Come on, governors of Arizona and Texas, don't be dicks.
Well,
yeah, right. And here's the other thing. All right, okay. One more thing, I promise. Now, have you ever heard of the SS St. Louis ship during World War II, during Nazi Germany? Have you heard of this before?
I don't think so.
Okay, it's a ship that was in service during World War II and the time of the Nazis, and it was let's see here what it is. They call this the Voyage of the Dam, and the St. Louis sailed from Hamburg to Havana on the 13th of 1939. It had 937 passengers, most of them Jewish refugees seeking asylum from Nazi persecution in Germany. Sorry, that's my Wikipedia voice. I'll try to cut to the chase. But they were doing their best to redistribute people as best as they possibly could. And and these are people from Europe, and they're trying to get them to places to where they can have, they're going to seek asylum and they're going to be safe. But it was a fiasco because many countries, including the United States of America, would not help. They circled off the coast of Florida, hoping for permission from authorities to enter the United States. And U.S. President FDR chose to intervene to admit the refugees. Captain Schroeder considered running the St. Louis aground along the coast to allow the refugees to escape, but acting on Hull's instructions. Now, Hull was, let's see, who was this dude? I think he was, I don't know who he was. He was some guy who was also in this whole mess. Basically, what happened was politics kept these people from coming on to United States soil and saving them from Nazi Germany. They said, no, we're not doing it. And they actually didn't allow these people to seek asylum in the United States. And they ended up going back, and hundreds and hundreds of people went back to their death in Nazi Germany. And I learned about this. I mean, I'm not reading my details on Wikipedia, but there's a whole segment of it in Washington, D.C. at the Holocaust Museum. And I'm thinking, are you hearing the similarities there? Am I the only one hearing the similarities?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, we're going to send people around and hopefully they'll take them and they're not going to push back. And it's crazy, it just makes me upset. But okay, I ventilated enough. There we go. How are you guys doing with COVID out there? I mean, are you?
We both had it. We're both done.
Are you vaccinated?
Vaccinated and boosted and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, I had it. I don't think I may have told you last time I talked to you, but yeah, I had it when I went to Alabama. David and I went and took care of my sister's kids for a week while she went and had a well-earned vacation with her girlfriends in California. But apparently they've relaxed the guidelines as of today. It's pretty crazy. It was, you're no longer, CDC's COVID prevention guidance will no longer differentiate by whether people are up to date on their vaccinations.
Yeah.
I would imagine this is all probably case by case anyways, because it could be different things in New York. I don't know about Arizona where you are, but it's especially in theater. It's all different theaters have all different kinds of systems.
Oh, sure.
Testing to screen for COVID will no longer be recommended in most places for people who don't have COVID symptoms. CDC says people who have tested positive for COVID-19 can stop wearing masks if their symptoms have improved and they test negative twice in a row, initially on the 6th day after the infection began and again on the 8th day. I feel like that's not very different, but that's what it says. And the CDC says to limit social impact and economic impacts, quarantine of exposed persons is no longer recommended regardless of vaccination status. So we don't have to quarantine anymore.
Nope.
But they also say that, we can isolate a little bit too. Isn't that crazy? It's so fucking confusing, right? Let me see here. Do you want to hear more?
Oh, go for it.
Okay. They're removing guidance around cohorting and test to stay strategies at schools where students exposed to the virus could remain in school as long as they continue to test negative. That's bizarre. I would think that that's the way it was before. See, a lot of it is like, I always thought that that's the way it was anyway, but
yeah,
maybe they just didn't say it. Everybody just started rolling to that and then confirmed. The key changes in school guidance are in those sections that would parallel the changes in the community guidelines. So, for example, no longer recommending quarantine. And so in the school guidance, there is no more section on quarantine. Other tweaks to school guidance include clarifying that all people should be masking in school nurses' offices, the same as it already is recommended for other healthcare settings, and removing a recommendation that classrooms need to be disinfected after a positive case is spotted. So, yeah, and I guess they're like easing up a lot on social distancing and stuff. So it's probably because, most people are like enough people have had it or they're.
That's, there's that whole once enough people have had it. But then if you follow the history of this, it mutates amazingly fast.
Doesn't it, though?
And, the latter mutations aren't as hard on you physically, but they seem to be, look for a word here, they get around better. I mean, they're just out there everywhere. I was sick. I had 4 days. I was really, really bad. And
I remember that. Yeah.
Another 5 or 6 days when I was just kind of Total of about now 10, 12 days, I guess. And I'm okay. I mean, I have tested negative twice since. So.
Well, thank goodness. I mean, I don't know what your symptoms were, but mine were, I know everybody's at a different area health-wise, but the biggest thing for me was I was like spaced. I barely remember anything that happened at my sister's house, except that I laid in bed all day and I watched a lot of the Stranger Things because, the last 2 episodes of Stranger Things were like 18 hours long. But I remember we ate a couple times and that was it. And there was like cold symptoms like phlegm and stuff like that. Yeah. Was it like that for you too? Were you dazed?
Mine started out with the most insane migraine I've ever had in my life, and I've had migraines since I was like.
That sucks.
Okay, and then hot and cold flashes. I mean, it'd be freezing cold. I'd be hot. I was in a fog that I didn't even get near a computer for a few days. And body aches. Oh, every muscle hurt.
Yeah, I remember that too. It was like, ugh, gross. But it was bizarre. I'm normally like very like hyper alert of stuff for the most part, but I was so grateful that David was there and he was taking care of me, and he was actually taking care of the 2 kids who were fortunately 14 and 17. So.
Well, go David, man.
Yeah, I know, right? So they weren't that difficult. There were no diapers and drool and all that business. So but he hadn't seen it for a while. But I mean, God, but I just feel like a lot of this stuff as it evolves, it just feels like, I feel like we're already doing that. And they're like going, okay, you guys took the chance and stuff has happened, and now the authorities will come in and bless it. You're the brave ones who, actually did the work of, putting yourself out there and seeing what it was going to be like, if we stopped social distancing or masks weren't worn, here, there, and everywhere. So, yeah. And for theater, it's like I said, it's from like, you don't have to wear a mask to you have to wear a mask to you have to wear a mask and be vaccinated to there's a performance of Stephen Sondheim's Into the Woods here. That's, I don't know if you're familiar with that show. It's like a for those who aren't, it's like a fairy tale kind of thing that it's really great. And it's like a kick-ass production with like Sarah Bareilles and stuff. But at that show, the people who were in the first two rows, they have to wear a mask.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's so bizarre. It's just weird, but
that's one I hadn't heard.
Yeah, isn't it strange? I don't know why. I mean, is it because of the fact that the actors, the show is played mostly to the the front lip of the stage, as a good show should be, but I think maybe it's because a lot of actors, they spit and they talk and they sing and maybe that's why. But yeah, David and I were sat in the front row for that, and we had to wear a mask. And we went to see a show called & Juliet in Toronto, and we didn't have to wear masks there. And then, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago, we saw the production of the play Harry Potter, which is great, by the way, and at in San Francisco, like a sit-down production there, and masks were optional there as well. I don't know. I think we're all revolving, hopefully, back into whatever the new normal is. That's used to be like the old normal. I hope. Yeah, we want the new normal to be the and I think it's at this point just starting to become like, of course it flips. You never know, like a personal preference. It's
there's no mandates of any kind here for masks other than where requested by a business.
Does that happen often, or
no?
No?
Hospitals, medical facilities, doctors' offices.
Right. Yeah.
Ask you to mask, but I'm wearing mine. Juanita's wearing hers. We go to the store, and we may be the only people in the grocery store.
Well, my brother and sister-in-law and my niece, they all live in Arizona, and I don't know exactly. I think it might be a little further. It's like the Parker Dam area, only I don't know. They live somewhere in Arizona, and I remember talking to her on like early, like last year, and like even before that, and her saying, "Oh no, it's like very few people wear masks here." And this was during the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
What is there? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, there was that whole, my freedom bullshit. But a lot of people still feel like they're in the Wild West here. I'm not making that up. I'm really not.
What do you mean? Like they're
I stand for me, and if I don't want to do what you want me to do, fuck you.
Oh my God. Well, do you think that's, I mean, Arizona is a very conservative state. Do you think that has something to do with it? Maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Is that? Yeah. That's, another time when I went to visit my sister, this is like probably it was about a month after kids could get vaccinated, like younger kids, I think like from 12 up. And I went to visit her. I tried to go see her 3 or 4 times a year and see them just to be present. And I remember, I don't know if I told you about this, but I got to the Mobile airport because she lives very close to Mobile, Alabama. and it was late, and I was trying to get a cab or an Uber or something. It's not like here, you know. I mean, there are a lot, but this lady took me in, and she got in, and she said I was wearing a mask, and she just said, "If you'd like for me to wear a mask, I'll be happy to put that on for you. There's an air filter back here in the back seat that filters like an airplane and all this business." And I said, "Well, you know, I'm wearing a mask and I'm vaccinated, but yeah, if you wouldn't mind putting on a mask, that would be great." And oh my God, Mike, you would have thought that I said, "May I please take a shit in your car?" It was just like, I mean, she reaches over, she peels the mask out like slowly. First it was this, okay, reaches over, peels the mask out, puts it across her face. And, you know, I was like, "Lady, this is more for you than it is for me, because I'm vaccinated." Well, I'm not vaccinated because I have problems with getting vaccinated, and I have certain health issues and things like that. And then, I said, "Well," I said, "if you're annoyed with me for asking you to do it, then why did you ask me? Why didn't you just leave the mask off and whatever?" "Because we're required to ask that." And so I'm like, wow, you just kind of like passive aggressively bully everybody into not having you put it on. You know, we had a long talk, because it's far from where she lives, but she was not having it, really. And so, yeah, I hear you. She acted like, whatever, we don't have to do that here in Alabama. And I was like, "Oh, I'm from New York, and they have like refrigerators out in front of funeral homes right now, loading bodies and ambulances all day." And yeah, she was very proud of not wearing a mask, and, you know, thinking that she was fine with her filter.
Well, you know, it's where you get your information and what you decide to do with it. And
well, you know, you don't. It's a lot of it is because of. I understand when people don't want to do it for themselves. Okay, that's fine. That's you. Okay, that's your independent decision, and you're a grown up, and we should all have control over our bodies, which is that's our next show.
Yeah, that'll be a whole show.
Right. But, you know, I remember, and this is the last I'll say of it, I know, because it's getting late. So I remember when we first started coming back to the theater on Broadway Podcast Network, which hosts my podcast, Your Program Is Your Ticket. Look it up online if you want, and like theater and whatnot. And by the way, loved Diane, loved her.
Cool.
Diane McKenzie, she was great. She's so funny.
Glad.
Yeah, thank you for setting that up. We talked for like an hour and a half. It was one of my longest interviews ever.
Wow. Yeah. And she's a sweetheart. She really is.
Yeah, she is. And what great work she's doing. But we were all invited back to, before they started opening the theaters, to the theater where they do Phantom of the Opera here. And they did this event called The Shows Must Go On. And they did a movie for it. And they did they were focusing on in the middle of the pandemic, like full tilt boogie on fire pandemic. And they were doing a production of Cats, and they were doing a production of the Phantom of the Opera. And this was in, I want to say, Japan. And the production of Cats, one of the ladies who was one of the cast members of Cats, I forget which cat she was, not that that matters, but she said in Japan, in Japan, they have very much a different mentality. They have more of a we mentality, and they think more in terms of how everybody needs to gather together and do the things that they need to do as a full population of people to save themselves. And there's none of this like, well, I'm not going to do it. It's all about taking care of the population as a whole. And that's where they put their focus. We don't do that here in the United States.
No, not as a rule. Not as a rule.
Well, I think I've shot enough shit for you.
That's a bunch of shit, Sean.
I am full of shit. You know that.
I've known that for
for a decade now.
a while.
Yeah.
We should do this again.
Absolutely. Anytime you want me to come back, I'm happy to come back and shoot the shit with you.
Cool, man. You have a good night.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Good night.
Okay. Bye.